And so when I was outside with my business partner, we were actually knocking doors. I remember thinking, hey, wait a second. Before joining here 3 years ago, or at the time it was almost 3 years ago, I actually had $20,000 invested in Nvidia stock. And let me see how much it would be worth right now if I didn't actually sell it. And I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, I would have had $250,000. And the crazy part is obviously I had no idea that it's going to do that the stock is going to perform that well. But I knew one thing is I wasn't planning on selling. I wasn't planning on getting rid of it. I just kept adding to it and, in hopes that one day it's going to go up, just like all people do in stock. And the thing is, while I was participating or working inside the pyramid scheme, I was slowly selling off the stock that I had because I needed to use that money so that I could survive. Because the paychecks there were basically non existent, they were absolutely tiny and very, very inconsistent. And I had to rely on that, and I started using that money, and eventually, after I sold all of it off, I had to start going into debt. And I was standing there with them like, dude, like, don't you realize? Like, I started asking him, like, you're in debt too, aren't you? And he's like, yeah, yeah, of course. And he was like, dude, you would have had 250K? Why the hell did you join this shit? And I was like, well, nobody knew. Nobody actually knew, right? But the question here is, what is the opportunity cost? I mean, spend 3 years here, or in 3 years, you would have had a lump sum of money. It's like, what's worse? And to this day, I don't really know, because I did learn so many valuable skills there that I can actually apply to my life. But at the same time, would I have learned those skills if I wasn't there? Would I have done something else? I don't really know, but that's not the point of this video. I've shared how I joined this place, but I haven't really shared exactly how I got out. There are a lot of factors that influence that, but it is basically impossible to get out because, as you guys know, well, they get into your head, they get in your brain. You're a young, ambitious guy. Quitting means you're giving up on yourself. You're giving up on your dreams. That's what's taught, right? There's no way you're gonna quit. What are you, a loser? You've made it this far already. You're so deep in it, and you've invested so much of your youth into that. Why would you stop now? So basically, it's like impossible to get out mentally. It is such a mental game. And one thing that I learned there, or that I was learning, is systems run the business. I was implementing systems to run the office when certain things happen. Everything is systems. And the only thing I wasn't doing is I realized that, wait, why don't I just apply these systems and create them for my actual life? So let's abstract a layer, go up a frame, and be like, hold on, let's look at my life as a whole and not at the business scale of things. If all I have to do is basically apply a system that when should be the breaking point when I need to get out if it's not serving my life's purpose. And I thought, all right, so right now I'm in the best case scenario because I have just been titled territory manager for my city, which means I get to decide which leads I get, and leads are just homes and areas we go and knock on. And I thought, all right, awesome, I get dibs. I get to decide where we go because I know the best areas that have the most sales. I know those areas like the back of my hand because I've knocked on those doors a million times. I know the city very well. And I thought, wow, okay, I have a strong team, and we're going to build it to the summer because winters are the worst. Summer is where it is peak season for everything, for growth, for the opportunities, for the money, for whatever they promise you. And I thought, all right, so I don't want to make this thing an emotional thing. I don't want to make a choice because I'm sad in the moment or whatever it is. I want to make sure the choice I make, because I've invested so much of my life into it already, it is a purely logical choice. And I'm going to treat this business now just like I've treated stocks. Hey, if this stock drops below a certain point, I'm selling and I'm not buying. That's it. I'm taking the loss. And I did the exact same thing. And it was basically the end of winter at the time. And I thought, you know what? Perfect. I'm in the perfect position. By summer, I will see the absolute peak. So if by July, the business isn't cash flow positive with the office, and that's after paying myself, because I would often not pay myself because I would just have to pay for the expenses and that's it. I would end up with a $0 paycheck. And so after paying myself and still being able to save up money, because when winter is coming, winter, wipes out all those savings. I thought, all right, we'll see in the summer. So that was the system. And if that doesn't happen, I have to leave. Like, no questions asked, no emotions, no more listening to their, bro, you just need another 6 to 8 weeks. Let's make a plan. Let's get this thing going. I've heard that way too many times. I've been spun around that way too many times. So I thought, nope, it doesn't matter what they say. No more manipulation tactics. No more of that bullshit. And yes, the time came. It was, by then, July. Actually, yeah, that's exactly around the time I left. And I thought, all right, this is the peak. Things are pretty exciting. There's a lot of people here, big office now. We've recruited a bunch of people who want to work for the summer. And that's it. I was like, that's it. The office is barely breaking even. I'm like, yeah, this winter is going to be even harder. That's it. I told my business partner at the time, remember, I said I was going to do this. And he's like, no way. You're actually serious about that? Yep. That's it. I'm done. That's it. That simple. It was actually a very funny way that I left. But the point was that it had to be a logical decision. And I set up a system that would let me carry this out without having to rely on what I think in the moment. Because in the moment, as soon as you have thoughts of leaving, the higher ups contact you and they're like, hey, how's it going? Hey, do you need some help? Hey, let's work on this, let's work on that. And before you know it, you're spun around and you're in that shit again for the next 2 months because they gave you a breath of fresh air. And obviously, while you're in it, nobody actually calls it a pyramid scheme, so that's besides the point. Nobody actually is going to sit there and say that because they will describe the structure as, well, actually, no, you're actually running a company that does sales for a client. They will basically, take a pig and put lipstick on it to make it more pleasant, but at the end of the day, it's still a pig. It's still a pyramid scheme, no matter how you decorate it. That's the point. And yeah, actually, maybe I will share the story of how I left. Actually, it was very funny because I was inquiring already about some other jobs I could do at the time. I knew that I wanted to start making content. I was thinking about that all the time, but I had the opportunity to go on a trip, and it was a work trip. I was going to Brazil with another person, with a friend, and I was like, I have a sick ass job lined up. This is going to be awesome. I'm excited. And it was weird because in the office, technically things were good. Sales were up, everything was great. But I saw behind the thing, behind the cover, I was like, it doesn't matter. This is as best as it gets. This is as good as it gets. While everyone's too busy being excited because the entire business model runs on excitement, I was like, this is as good as it gets. I'm going to leave at the peak. And the day before leaving to Brazil, which was a work trip, I was like, I called one of the really higher ups, and I told him, oh yeah, I'm not coming in on Monday. Why? I'm going to Brazil. Bye. That's it. And man's voice just dropped. He was like, what? And he got super pissed because I got calls that I did not answer. I got a bunch of angry messages. And my other business partner, I left him in charge. I was like, just take care of everyone. I'm out for now. And I haven't fully left, but I was planning to, because here's the thing. I still had sales coming in. I still had my pending things they owed me, like paychecks. And if I was to just leave, one of the things that some people do, why a lot of these pyramid schemes are very, very crooked, is because they'll be like, oh, well, you left, so I am not obligated to pay you out your commission sales, which is like, it could be $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and you're like, what? So that's why I couldn't tell them. I already knew how this thing works, so I was like, I'm not telling them that I'm leaving. I'm gonna wait till I get paid, and then I'll leave. Yes, because they play with your pay there. It was horrible. But I came back, and I didn't tell anybody when I was coming back, but I came back a week later. And here's the funny thing is, I have ordered these little promotion plaques as a trophy to somebody to promote someone, because the business runs on promoting people into management. And I basically conspired with my business partner and I said, this is what I'm going to do on my last day. And this is how it's going to go. And only he knew about this. And so I came back that day from the airport. I straight went and picked up the plaques. They were ready for a promotion. And I had a guy in mind that was working with me. He was working really hard. And I thought, he deserves to take my spot. Maybe it's for him. Maybe he likes doing sales. But the point is, I'm going to give him my spot and I'm out. And nobody ever does things this way. And you're not supposed to do it. And I think he earned it. And so, yeah, I came into the office that same day after the airport. It was perfect timing because it was the morning. Everybody was in the office doing their morning office bullshit. And I snuck into my office. Like, I had an office room. I snuck into it. Nobody knew I was there. And that's where I was making plans of how we're going to carry this out. So right before everybody goes to the field to knock doors, this is usually when promotions happen. And what ended up happening is, as they were doing their chants and everything and running everything, I walked right in the middle of the circle to give a speech, which is common. You know, one of the managers usually gives a speech to motivate the guys, to motivate the guys. And I walked in there to give the speech. And of course, people were like, what the hell? Like, where did you come from? Where did you disappear to? And where did you come from? Like, I just walked in out of there. And I started giving a speech about how, you know, I think this guy, blah, blah, blah. I basically talked very well about, I praised this one individual. And then I basically promoted him into a management position. I gave him the plaque and I said, you're promoted. And they're like, wow, exciting, very awesome. And, you know, some people, you know, some of my teammates, they wanted to talk to me like, oh, where were you? Like, what's going on? Blah, blah. I just encouraged them and then I disappeared again. I had another work trip. I was going to Japan, literally in like 2 days. And I was not about to go into the office again. It was like a Friday. And I basically just disappeared after that. And yeah, it was very interesting because I was right before my flight. And again, the higher up, he actually came to our office to visit from Toronto. He drove all the way down because he's like, hold on, like, what the fuck is going on in that office? Something is crazy. Because those are the guys that actually control your office and control everything. Those are the guys that are making the money from you. Even if you are a manager, they're still making money from you. And yeah, he basically wrote me a lot of angry messages and stuff saying, who does that? Like, who actually does that? You come in unannounced and you promote a guy into management without talking to anybody, without, like, who does that? Like, that's screwed up. And, you know, like, oh, I'm in trouble, big deal, right? I didn't really care. I was like, yeah. Because the funny thing is, I know the guy that I promoted, I know he would not get promoted into a management role. People who are very good at what they do in that business model, they get milked. I got milked, right? Before giving somebody a management role, they milk them for their utility because they're so useful. And when they're not in management, it means you get to pay them less. You don't have to pay them that much because they're not a manager. They're just a sales rep. But you milk the shit out of them. That's what they do. And that's the same thing happened to me. And I knew if I didn't promote this guy, that he's not getting promoted anytime soon. And I thought he deserved at least his recognition and his increase in pay. And I just put that on them. And guess who's going to have to pay them? Well, the higher ups are going to pay them more now because if I'm leaving, the office transfers to them by default. And it's no longer under me. And they're going to have to be stuck paying this guy higher because they might as well, right? At least do something good before you leave. And then I was on the flight to Japan and I made this message because I didn't want to go on another call because I know what calls happen. They always want you to call. If I called them and I said I'm leaving, they would have made this whole conversation about how, no, you're not leaving, blah, 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 and try to respin you around into the whole thing. So instead, I decided not to stay in contact. I just wrote a big message. I said, hey, look, no harm, whatever, like no hard feelings. I'm out. This is not for me. That's it. All right. I'm not going to say anything bad. You guys do your thing. And that's it. That's that. Funnily enough, I got a lot of angry messages from my teammates, people who work directly under me, who I've built very close connections with. And it turned out because, well, whenever you leave a pyramid scheme, you become the villain. no matter what. You become the villain. And it turns out when I got back, I wanted to like have a separate meetup with the people I worked closely with every single day. And I wanted to invite them out, like, hey, let's go, you know, chill. And I'll like kind of break things down for you. But it wasn't like that, because they completely were like, oh, this guy was evil all along and plotted everything. And my business partner filled me in. He said, oh yeah, as soon as you left, you were, you know, the higher ups talked so much shit about you that your entire team basically was quite now questioning, are you even like, are you good, you know? And I had to bring them back and say, okay, come on guys, like seriously, like you've known me for longer than that. And we ended on a good note there. That was fine. Ended on a bad note, of course, as always. No matter how nice you try to be, they will always make you a villain. But I'm okay with that. That's how I ended up leaving. I implemented a system that will get me out of these situations, leaving all emotions or my current state aside. Even if they really convinced me to put all my best into the summer and do all that, the day came, my system clicked, I'm out. And today I'm in a better place, by far. Far better. I feel way better. It's been a year. Oh my god, it's actually been a year since then. Exactly a year. And it's better. It's better. It's just better. That's all I can say. And speaking of systems, if you guys want to learn how systems actually work and how to set them up, I have a community that I'm building. The link is in the description. Feel free to check it out. Other than that, catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.